Hello again! Well, I finished the stitching on all of the seams of the bed curtains, so now, except for the top, so now it's time to fit them onto the bed and try and make them look nice. And this goes like that. It's supposed to go in there. That goes in there. Like that. Now, I want them to start in the middle here, both of them in the front, like that. But this is the side you can see from the window, and this side is, well, not against the wall, but it's on the wall side, so you're never going to see that. And I think it's a shame that you won't be able to see the side of the bed. So I think I want to pull the curtains back on this side towards this support. And also I left them quite long, and I don't want that. I want them to just touch or sit just above the bottom of the floor, I mean. And so I'll have to do a few pleats. Well, not strong ones. It just suggests that they sort of hang down from the canopy. And then in the back, I want to be able to see the pattern. And so this will go there. And then the other thing I was thinking of how to finish the top, and I want it to be closed really, and not open. So I thought maybe I could put a little dome on it, not too big, but covered in the same material, perhaps. I'll have to see how that looks. But so I was looking for a dome, and I was, searching all over my workshop, and then I ended up in the laundry, and I found this, and this is one of those laundry I don't know what they're called, balls. You put the laundry, what is that called? Detergent. You put it in there, put it in your washing machine, and I never use them, but it smells nice. It has been used one time, but I just never use it. And I think if I cut it down, it's a little bit high at the moment, but I think if I cut it down, make it a little bit shorter, so it goes down a little bit more, that might look nice, covered with fabric, of course. And ideally, this would have been round at the top, but now that I'm looking at it, that actually doesn't look so bad. And also I thought I wanted to cut it down so it sits lower. But to be honest, I quite like it if it has a little bit more height, because the bed is quite low in the room. So this actually might work with that on there. And but we'll see. I can always ditch the plan and change it again. But we'll have a look. I'm not sure how I'm going to cover that, because of course it's round. It's hard to make a round shape, so I'll have to make like triangles in it to make the fabric fit. But we'll see. And I know I said that this week I would show you the finished results, but I don't think that's going to happen. I keep promising you things, and then I keep having to say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get it finished. I shouldn't promise you anything because now that I'm going to do this as well, I don't think that will be finished this week. And I also promised you to make a door. And, well, I have to do that too, don't I? And it's been very, very hot here in the Netherlands. And, well, we don't have air conditioning. So here in my workshop, I think at the moment it's 29 degrees. So it's not that comfortable to be in here. So, yeah. It's not going to be finished this week. Doors! Last week I promised you I would show you how I make my doors, and I'll start on that this week, and there will be a full tutorial at a later date. But first I would like to show you how I made the doors in my first canal house, because back then I didn't have any tools, or well, I had tools but just simple tools, and I used those to make those doors, and they look great. So I'll show you that first, and then I'll show you how I made these doors, and these are constructed the way real doors are made. And here is one of the doors in my canal house, and oh, I see one of my lights stopped working. That's a never-ending story, but anyway, I'll show you how I made this door. Let me take that out for you, because yeah, it is. I can take that out. There. Here it is. And this was the first door I ever made, and I only had a few tools, so this is not hard to make. And of course, this one is marble to match the room. But I've also made the other doors in this one is from the bedroom. And a similar one is in the salon. And these were all made in the same way, very simple. And this one's quite thick. And this one has, this is the side of the hallway. And that one is paneled with teak wood. So, but I'll show you how to do that. Now, how did I make these? Well, years ago, when I still had my website, I had a tutorial on there on how I made these doors. And I'll show you how I did that. I'll be showing you how to make a door similar to this one, very simple one, and which is fun. I still have the template I made for this door. Now I won't be making it as ornate as this one. This time I'll make it much simpler with simple shapes. But we'll need a wall, of course, because you have to cut out the space for the door, and you'll need some thin wood to make a door jamb. And this is where we attach the hinges to when everything's finished. Of course, you'll need some wood to make the door of. And this is, you can use wood, but you can also use MDF. And this is about 4 millimeters, which is a bit thick. So it would be better if it's a little bit thinner. And then I use some, what is that called? You know, they make model airplanes out of it. Triplex. And, but you can also use mat board, which I think I will do, because I've never done that, and I think it will be good to see if that works. I think it will work. And the cut will be really smooth. You cut it with a hobby knife, of course. And I just painted this. That was a test color. But it paints really well, and I think that would be nice to try. And of course, in the end, you'll need some hinges as well. And I'll show you how to attach those when I have finished both doors. Now, if you don't have a lot of money, or you cannot get a lot of tools, you could use, if you have, let's say, a sketchbook. Because in the end, the back of the sketchbook, there's always a bit of cardboard, stiff cardboard. You could use that. It won't paint as nice as a matte board will, but you could use it. And you could also use the 250 grams paper for making the detailing on the doors. And here I've got a sheet of that, which is quite firm and works really well. Now, I got this piece of MDF for free at my DIY shop because the size of it, they cannot sell it anymore, so they just gave it away for free. So you may be able to find some of that yourself. And another way of saving money is to go to your local grocery store or your supermarket, and you may find little crates. For my first doll's house, I used orange crates because they have a type of MDF at the bottom and some wood around the sides, and the wood is terrible, but you can use it. So if you don't have a lot of money, just be a little bit creative. See, here's an orange crate, and actually the sides are made of some sort of, it looks like MDF, and the wood is some kind of plywood. I mean, it's cheap, but you could use it for something. You will need at least a few tools to cut the wood. And I use one of those hand saws. Well, actually, I didn't use that one back making my first doll's house. I used this one. And this one's nice because it's much longer, which means you can make longer cuts. And I actually had that one since I was 10, I think. It still works. It's a good saw. And if you're working with card, you'll need a hobby knife. And I have my scalpel, or just one of those cheap ones, as long as it's sharp. And of course you'll need a ruler. And of course you'll need some wood glue as well. So step 1 is to measure your door. How long or how wide do you want the door to be? And that can be different for different types of houses, because those old grand houses usually had very big doors. A tiny cottage has a small door, probably. And if you have a modern house, the dimensions of the door may be different than, let's say, a house from the 50s. So just determine your own door size, and then you have to add the thickness of the wood you're going to use for the door jambs to that. So both sides, add that, and then you'll have the width of the door. And then of course you also have to calculate the height with another door jamb. I don't know if that's called a door jamb if it's on top, but there's a piece of wood there as well. And then you have to cut that out. And I just use a handsaw, and it will make you learn how to use a saw. And if it's not entirely straight, that's all right. Just don't go too far, draw the line and try to follow the line. Because if you're not too straight, as you can see here, I put some decorative door frames around it, which will cover your little wobbly lines. So that's step 1. And then step 2 is to actually cut the door jambs, and you start with the one on the top, and you just look at the size, make a mark, cut that off. There we go. Oh, and I forgot to say that the wood of your door jambs needs to be the same, at the same height or same level as your wall. So if it's too high, like mine is, then you'll have to cut it down. And just take a pencil and mark the length, and you'll have to cut that. And yes, when I was making my first doll's house, I did actually do all those cuts by hand, and now I've cheated a little and used my table saw. But okay, so when you've cut that to length, the top one, then it's time to measure the bottom one and just go all the way to the bottom of the wall. Or if you've already installed floors, let's say your floor is at this height and it continues through the door opening, of course then you'll have to make it shorter and cut it at the level of the floor. So now I'll cut that. And then do the same for the other side. There. And then you can just glue those together. And don't glue it to the wall yet, because it will be easier to work with it when you install hinges, when you can actually take it out. But it is nice to have this glued up already. Oh. And maybe you can just put something heavy on it to hold that in place while it dries. So next you take your cardboard or wood or whatever you're using for the door, and you place it underneath your door. And if you already have one or two straight sides with a nice corner, you can use that. And otherwise just place it on there, underneath there. And take your pencil and draw the outline of the door. Of course, we will need a bottom as well. Just do that. And I know it's black, a little bit harder to see, but and then just cut this out, either with a saw or whatever you need to cut it out with. And in this case, because it's the door, it is important that you cut straight. So if you're not very good at using a saw, then this was a good point to try it, or try it out first. Now, what you can do, if you're not very good at sawing straight, you could clamp a bit of wood or Actually, it would be nicer if you have something like a metal ruler. You could clamp that right up to the line that you're going to saw, like that. Use it as a ruler, basically. What you do with when you're using a craft knife as well, you use a ruler. So you can use that, or a ruler, or a metal ruler would be best. And then use that to cut along that line, because then it will help you to go straight. With wood, of course, you can cut into the wood as well. So it does take a little bit of practice, but it will help you. So if you have a metal ruler, use that and clamp it, and then, you know, you can use that as a guide. There. So that's finished. Have a lovely gradient on the back. And it should fit in there. And it does. Now you can see that when I did it this way, it didn't fit. That means that this actually isn't square. Because, oh, you can really see it at the bottom. So it does fit like this. It would be nice to have a square one, but it's more important that your door fits. And actually you could make it slightly narrower, because you still have to paint the door jamb and the door frame and the door as well. And so if you'll need a little bit of room for the paint, otherwise your door won't close properly. Just cut a little bit off, tiny bit. Check which way is up. And it's a good idea that if your door is not entirely straight, and of course we would prefer it to be straight, but if it's not, then just let's see, I think it's this one. Then just mark which way is the bottom. So maybe an arrow or just right bottom, so you're not confused. So the next step is to make a door surround here, which is similar. Well, similar. It's what I have here, and they're all different in my house. They all have a different door surround, but you can see on the back what it looks like. And here in the photos of my old tutorial, you can see what I was doing. And I'm going to be using my old sketchbook, the back of my old sketchbook. And I'm going to make a big one. So it goes up to there. And how wide do I want it? I don't know. I'd like it fairly big, so maybe. And maybe you have some decorative strips of wood, like here. I just put some decorative wood on there, and then you'll have to measure how much, how wide it is. And so you have enough room for that. Okay, so let's pretend I want to put this on as well. And this is actually just some baseboard. So then I'll need to know how wide it is. So this one as well. So this is the, and then I'll do the same here. This is the door surround. And here's another one. You can measure it to make it more exact, but I'm just gonna eyeball it for now. And then, of course, you need to make sure this edge is straight, which it is. And then this was the top. So we'll go over here. And this is the bottom. Where is it? Here. Cut that out. And of course also, well actually did it? Yeah. And then you'll have to know where to cut out the inside. And again, or you can use the door panel. The wall, actually, which is over here. Make sure it's straight. And cut that out. So that's finished, like that. And then there, the door goes in there. And of course, I wanted to have the ornamental side post like that. Now, if you've been a bit careful cutting this out, then you can use the cutout for your next step. And I've already adjusted this piece to the size of the door because, if you remember, the door was a little bit narrower. So it's the same size. And then, where is it? You could use this to cut your ornament out of the door. And if that's what you want to do, then I'll do it on the back. You just position it on your bit of wood or card. And this is not, even if you use wood, don't use very thick wood because it's going to lay on top and that's just going to look odd. So this is about, I don't know, 1.5 millimeter. So position it on to the door. And then just copy it. Just copy that and then cut it out. And the way you cut it out, if you're going to use a hand saw and actually if you're going to use an electrical saw as well. And the way you do that is you cut a hole in there somewhere and you can drill. I'm just using this because it's cardboard and you may not have a drill. And then, as I said, you do need a saw. You loosen your saw and you put the saw blade through the hole from there to there and tighten the saw blade again. And then you saw it out. are. I cut out a door detail from cardboard. So that goes on there. And yeah, it would look nicer like that. Next thing is glue these two together. And oh yeah, I sanded the edges a little bit and do make sure they stay crisp. So that's nice and smooth. Well, the door is glued and I let it dry for a while and I used some heavy weights so that it stayed flat. And I put a little bit of detail on here, just like I did on the original door. Just this one is square and this one isn't, but it's the same principle. And I also finished the back and I did the same thing. So there's 3 layers of card now. And then on the back I just, instead of cutting out the detail, I added some detail with wood. And you can, you know, embellish it some more with some, I don't know, some flowers or just decoration if you like. You don't have to. But this is similar to what I've done here. Well, it's not on the door, but it's on the over door. And that was done with similar things like these. And then just make combinations, and it gives a really nice effect. So now that that's finished, we can continue with the door surround and just glue that onto the door jambs. And not onto the wall yet, just the door frame to the door surround. Well, the cardboard door and door surround are finished. And I've put 2 coats of paint on it and it looks really good. I must say I'm pleasantly surprised. And it also looks very strong and sturdy. You cannot really tell the difference between the wood and the cardboard. Here's the back, which I decorate with some paper. But I really like it. And I'll put the hinges on when I finished the other door, which is made the official way. But I must say I'm pleasantly surprised with the cardboard. It looks great. Now for this other door I'll be making, you could use a handsaw, but I prefer to use my table saw. And you'll need somewhere to put your router bits into, your cutters. And I use a milling machine, or you could use like a mounted Dremel, something like that. It's getting a bit dark. Let me, turn on the light. And for the raised panel here, you'll need some router bits that can actually make that curved shape here. So I have 3 here, 3 different ones. And I think they will all do the job. It just depends on how you set your router. But we'll get to that. And I have collected some router bits over the past. And this was, I think it was a specific doll's house set. I don't think it's available anymore. And I have seen it fairly recently for ridiculous amounts of money. So don't get that. It's a very nice set though, don't get me wrong. I really like it. But when I bought it, it wasn't that expensive. And now I think Dremel sells router bits that will be good for your doll's house making. And other than that, you'll just have to search for router bits. And sometimes the Chinese ones, they sell on, not Amazon, what's the other one? I can't remember. I never order from that one, but they're not always very good quality. They'll do the job once or twice, and then you can basically throw them away. But yeah, you just have to search for some router bits. Now, this video is already really, really long, so I'm not going to show you how to do this this week. You could look for some wood to start making it next week, and I use any kind of wood that has a fine grain, like lime wood is good, or pear, mahogany. Those types of wood are really good to work with. Don't use balsa. It's far too soft. You can do that if you cut everything by hand, but if you, as soon as you start routing, it just doesn't, it's just not a good wood to work with. But you'll need about 4 millimeters thickness, no more. 3.5 is okay. And in inches, well, if you're working in inches, have a look at it yourself. I'm terrible at converting, but the top is inches, and here at the bottom you can see where the 0 is. That's 4 millimeters. So if you convert that to the top, you can do that yourself. I don't know. But so wood that's 4 millimeters thick or slightly thinner is fine as well. And that would be the maximum, because otherwise your door would be just too heavy. And so that's where I leave you today. And have a lovely week. Until next time.